SBN, Sports Business Now. SBN is a division of Row 27, the digital sports marketing company, celebrating 5 years of creating TV spots, intro videos, and microsites for over 150 teams. See our work at row27.com. And by FanMaker, digital marketing tools for sports teams, featuring FanMaker Rewards, the most comprehensive and popular fan loyalty and reward system. Learn more about our apps at fanmaker.com. SBN, Sports Business Now.
Hey sports fans, welcome to SBN Live, episode 43. This is where sports marketing and technology meet. And happy Halloween to all of you. My name is Max Huber. I'm your host today, joined by Jason Cole and our special guest, Ranger. This is the first time I've seen that shot, and Ranger will just kind of be hanging out with us all day. But Jason, how are things on your front?
Things are going great. It's an exciting time of year. Obviously, we have some great costumes in the office. You're not going to be winning the costume of the year contest as an English hooligan here, but it is quite. It's a lot better than me schlepping around in a wrinkled jacket like a college professor.
Well, that's all right. We'll let that one go. But we'll hop right into some stories, and this one's kind of close to Jason's heart, being a Cubs fan. But the Wrigley Field is testing some signs that a 650-foot square sign at Wrigley Field that is kind of the worst nightmare for the rooftop club owners across the street. In a test run using the sign that said Wrigley Field, it was aimed at appeasing the rooftops and jump-starting stalled negotiations between the team and the club owners. You can see the picture there. They tried to make it a little bit transparent, but anybody that's sitting up in that area, they're not really going to be able to see the field as much as they want. Jason, what are your thoughts?
This is just going to come down to probably court-mediated settlement or Mayor Emanuel forcing people into a court-mediated settlement, being the rooftop owners, because the Tribune Company just signed such an awful long-term deal with these rooftop owners for such a pittance of the revenue. There's no way that the Cubs are not going to be putting up a sign there inside of the next 5 years. It's just a matter of how much money they're going to pay to get out of this contract or force the people into the situation. And it's really unfair for the rooftop owners to basically really kneecap the very team that they're supposedly fans of financially for putting the best possible product in the field, because they've been basically stealing revenue by having these properties for 25 years.
Right, and in this new agreement that you mentioned, it requires that the clubs, the rooftop clubs, share 17% of the revenues with the team. It's a pretty small amount, and like you said, they could, this could be some sponsorship revenue, or in their case, it's just the branding opportunity.
My honest opinion, it's even worse than just the sponsorship revenue, which is the immediate thing that's being affected right now. These rooftops have evolved from being when this deal was cut, some dudes having friends over drinking Budweiser, to being, some of the best premium seating and outings for Cubs events, whether it's a Springsteen concert or, the actual product in the field. It's their corporate event havens. They steal a ton of revenue out of that premium category that would be realized by the Cubs that, every team in New York or every other major metropolitan team does see. Right. So it's something they probably are just going to need to buy out the end of the contract in some capacity. And for people to have agreed at 17% revenue blows me away.
Right. And looking further into the story, it says that they do have a partner in Budweiser, so there's money coming in there. I figured it would have been old style myself, but good for them. It'll be interesting to see how this turns out. I agree with Jason. These people are, it's quite the luxurious seat to sit up there. You get a great view of the field, and if the Cubs owners and Wrigley want to make some money on that, then good for them, and kind of block those guys out. But moving on to our next story, this involves the Beck. David Beckham has announced that with his franchise capabilities that he has with the MLS and the contract that he signed, he wants to move his team to Miami. It's an interesting topic because Orlando City, currently in the NASL, is also hoping to get a team in the near future with the MLS. So it'll be interesting to see how this works, to have two brand new teams in the state of Florida, and knowing that the Miami Fusion FC, who played in Fort Lauderdale from 98 to 2001, had some success on the field but weren't that successful in the stands and everything. So like I said, interesting. They're going to have the star power here with David Beckham and probably a better facility in Miami itself. But, Jason, do you think this is going to work? Two teams in Florida in a very short amount of time, especially one of them in Miami that didn't work out.
It's going to depend on what their venue is. And I have a few... I have a feeling that Beckham, with his political connections and the amount of money he'll bring in, is going to have a soccer-only facility. And if you have a soccer-only facility, you're going to be much more successful than if you're playing on like a collegiate football field or wherever you might be temporarily. A great example of that and how there's a market for it. You built a soccer-only facility and been tremendously successful is the Portland Timbers, who have been rock solid sellouts at around 15,000, and that Southern Florida market is ripe for that. I mean, it is the right clientele. They don't have any team that's been really organized or on a good venue behind them. One thing that I think is interesting is you've seen the NASL try to put teams in good soccer markets where there is not a MLS team.
Right.
And they do have one in Fort Lauderdale right now that I think's Austrian owned. That I was looking to capitalize on the market. But David Beckham is a worldwide brand. I mean, he'll be, that franchise will being one of the most played franchises on FIFA 2016 or whenever it launches.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Fort Lauderdale team, and then it would also be interesting to see if David Beckham, just every once in a while, pulls a Jordan and comes out of retirement just to play. I don't know.
Just puts himself to get subbed in for some PKs.
Yep.
At the end of the game.
I see, just even a bend it, they'll bend it like Beckham, throw him in there for something like that. Let's stick on the MLS trail and talk about some teams that are in smaller markets like the NASL, like you mentioned, Jason. Salt Lake City with the Real Salt Lake signs one of the top MLS jersey deals. It's about they signed a $30 million deal. If I could talk, $30 million deal over 10 years, about $1.3 million more per year than the team's stadium naming rights deal. They signed this with Life Vantage, so a huge market there for Real Salt Lake. They're a very successful team. They've got a soccer-specific market. So it's interesting to see the amount of money that they're bringing in a small market in a town that's not traditionally soccer crazy. Do you think this is a step in the right direction for the MLS? Obviously it is, but do you think we'll see more contracts like this moving forward?
I do. I think the reason you see a few of the teams still holding out, I think there are 2 or 3, is because you don't want to benchmark a deal of this magnitude at whatever rates just available that year. Real Salt Lake did a great job of holding out for a very valuable deal for them. Soccer viewership's been growing drastically. NBC Fox, who've been airing these games, have been doing a great job in the production and then also coverage during nightly shows. Attendance, even though it's been down across the board, when you look at the other professional sports over the last year, was up over a percentage point and a half in the MLS again this year. I think it's like year 18 in a row. So soccer has this steady growth trajectory inside of the U.S., which is obviously going to make these deals increase in value as they begin turning over even with the existing teams.
Right, and you mentioned there the teams right now, Colorado, Houston, and San Jose, the only teams that do not have jersey deals. And another interesting fact about Life Vantage, that's the third group that's kind of like Life Vantage, Herbalife, and Advocare, all kind of in the same market, and they all have jersey kit sponsors, LA Galaxy and Dallas being the other teams. So I believe the MLS is stepping in the right direction.
The secret is to target MLM companies.
Yes. I mean, go after them. They've obviously got money. You want to get those. One of my favorite ones has to be the Philadelphia Union with Bimbo Bread. So all their jerseys say Bimbo. It's just it's kind of a funny deal. But, moving on. Let's talk about the U.S. Winter Olympics, and as they go to Sochi, all of the Team USA uniforms for the Olympics by Ralph Lauren are going to be made in the USA. Kind of a big deal. It seems like this is one of the first times this has happened because, you look at the label made in China, made wherever. But
it's not one of the first times it's happened. I think it's just such an egg in their face from the Beijing. What was it?
Was it Beijing?
No, it was 08. What was 2012?
London.
Sydney. London Olympics.
Yeah.
So all the Ralph Lauren U.S. uniforms were made in China at the London Olympics,
right.
and it was a huge political controversy of people yelling back and forth. And, it costs a little bit more, but who really cares? It's not like the uniforms they're going to sell that are replicas are going to be made in the USA.
Right.
You just need to make sure the stuff that's sitting on the athletes is. And that way you avoid, like, some congressman screaming that it's at the end of the world.
Right. Exactly, and they used more than 40 different vendors from around the state, so it wasn't all them. They went outside the box, grabbed some other people, and unveiled them. But, like you mentioned, as long as the athletes have it, so the Lamoureux twins, who are on the U.S. women's U.S. women's hockey team and UND graduates. When they're wearing their stuff, they want to have Team USA, Made in USA emblazoned on there. But when you go buy your sweater,
it'll be made in Vietnam or China or wherever. Yeah.
But you're going to get it at a better price, probably. So,
of course.
Interesting how that works, and they're going to look classy no matter what. And excited for the Sochi Olympics to come up very soon, and to kind of see how the Twitter world reacts, Facebook reacts, and everything along that nature. And Ranger just wants to take a nap. We don't have much left, but we'll keep going. This one's interesting. Twitter is revamping their timeline. And automatically, starting, I think it was Tuesday, Twitter's making pictures and videos a more important part of its service as it strives to appeal to more users and advertisers ahead of its public stock offering. The social networking group announced that users will now automatically see photos and Vine videos shared by those they follow as they go through their timeline. So when you go through, it's not just going to say pick Twitter. You have to click on it, and it's going to open. With this service, it will automatically show up there, making Twitter that much more visual and that much more advertising friendly, I guess you could say, Jason. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this? I know that obviously in our world you have to be very Twitter heavy, and for some of our teams this is going to be a great outlet for them.
Well, it's a great outlet for them. It obviously makes a ton of sense for Twitter because they're kind of just copying how Facebook had this blowout quarter monetizing mobile advertising by having displayed pictures and videos inside of the timeline, and they're doing the exact same thing, so I'm sure they'll see similar results. For teams, the really good thing is that it means your content now is that much more rich on Twitter. It helps you be able to go more viral quicker. It really lends itself towards that multimedia function as opposed to just being pithy with 140 characters.
I notice a lot of times when I'm scrolling through my Twitter feed, I might see that there's a picture there, but I might not click on it just because I've got all the details in the message. Now it's going to be there. And like you said, you can use the actual wording more to your advantage because you're also going to have the image to convey a lot of your message.
Right there. You're not going to have to tell people what the image is. You're going to be able to say, caption it or give something about it. And I think it'll make it a much more rich experience. Most importantly, it's really going to, I think, increase the user interactions with the video and photo content that's being published on Twitter from where they're at right now. I'd love to see what their baseline stats are. I'm sure 2 quarters down the road that they'll have that out in their financial reports. Right,
and it says here that having pictures appear as they do on Facebook should entice more companies to be active on Twitter as well as to pay for promoted tweets. Yep. And the change has already automatically happened on websites. Apple and Android users will see the changes when they update their Twitter apps on their phones. Sticking on the Twitter realm, they have partnered with Nielsen Ratings to release the first Twitter TV ratings top 10 list, a new metric that measures not how many people watch a given television show, the basis for traditional TV ratings, but how much activity they generate on Twitter. So, for example, the Breaking Bad finale, it came in number 1 on the list for most tweeted about show in America. It didn't even crack the top 10. And the most top 10 shows, you've got Sunday Night Football, Big Bang Theory, whatever it is, only one show in the traditional top 10 showed up on the Twitter top 10, and that was The Voice. So it's just interesting to see this metric on how many people are actually watching the show compared to how many are being socially interactive with it on Twitter. Jason, what are your thoughts on it?
I think the difference in between physically having a TV on and viewing something versus wanting to tell the world what you think about it are 2 very different emotional responses. And something like Breaking Bad, which really is it's one of those rare shows that sort of sets itself apart inside of a decade where you look back at it and 50 years from now they'll be pointing to how the story was told and how great the acting was and everything else. It was a much bigger experience. And having, viewing on Netflix and everything else really brought millions more people in to share that experience at the finale. So it was more of a emotional surprise, plus it was extraordinarily well done, whereas Sunday Night Football is on next Sunday and it was on last Sunday. It's not this singular moment that's going to spike in time.
Right, and with some people, they're obviously live tweeting the entire thing, so you're going to have a great influx that way. Or shows like The Voice, where they ask you to tweet, they want you to tweet votes and everything in, so they're obviously going to be ahead of that. Some shows just don't normally adapt well to Twitter, I guess you'd say. But
yeah, and I would also say it probably has something to do with demographics. I mean, the most active people on Twitter are in more urban areas. They're more likely to have a smartphone. They're more likely to be younger. They're going to be more clued in or watching a show like Breaking Bad or The Voice than my 80-year-old grandmother.
Right.
That's has her flip phone of 200 minutes on it a month.
Right.
Like if I talk to her about Twitter, she won't know what it is. But I guarantee you, she's watching How I Met Your Mother, because she thinks it's funny.
Right.
And every episode of Big Brother ever.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see also if they can take these ratings and kind of put a positive or a negative annotation to it. So, how many positive tweets are there versus how many negative?
Yeah.
So, if there's a really crappy show and people are tweeting negatively
Like
about it.
Sharknado.
Yeah. Is it actually helping their cause out there? So it is interesting, and it'll be cool to see kind of where that goes. But a kind of short Halloween episode for you guys today. Our That Just Happened moment. If, Joe, you can switch to our other camera one more time, is that. That is your That Just Happened moment. That is Ranger taking a nap on the desk.
Yeah, we asked him if he wanted to hang out with us. He hopped up and laid right down.
And so that's what we'll leave you with. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Check us out on Twitter at SB Now, online at sportsbusinessnow.com, and tune in next Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, with an all-new edition of SBN Live.
SBN, Sports Business Now.